are you settling down with yourself, or like are you settling with this version of yourself that you're not happy with? And I think that's where it all comes from. So
Hey, lovers of the world. This is It's Hard Being Human. I have Nadine, and we have Colleen, and we have myself, Devin. And today's topic is very special to us. It was actually recommended by one of our viewers, so we're very excited to share. But the topic is are you settling versus settling down, and what that means to each of us. Before we begin, please subscribe to our channel, like, comment, and follow us on social media. So Nadine's going to kind of kick this off for us and give us some of her thoughts first.
Okay, so settling versus settling down. As we all know, in this day and age, I'm going to try to. I'm going to try to.
keep it real with the kids.
And yes, and this day and age, we have this, fear of missing out because we see this person, and we're all overly stimulated, and we're just like, okay, well, if I choose this person doesn't have that person's quality. So it's almost like we want to build our own bear of what we think our forever like life partner is going to look like. And oftentimes that fear of selecting one person, we push that, and it takes us to a place where we never make a decision because we're just like, you know what, I just don't want to pick that wrong person, because it's very true. Our parents have said it to us. I've been told that before, where the wrong person can definitely affect your life forever and always, and the right person could affect your life in a positive way. So when choosing, we have to choose wisely because that's who we're going to do life with. You know what I mean? So and doing a little bit of research for this topic, I thought of some things, and then I will have you ladies interject where you see fit, of things that I felt settling reminded me of. So I'll start, and it says being with someone that you're not equally yoked with, staying with someone because you are unaware of who you are independently, staying with someone until you find the one because you're afraid of being alone. And as I told the girls, I am guilty of all three of these, which is why they were the first things to pop in my head. So I will speak to Colleen. Colleen, have you ever experienced this, or what is your definition of settling?
Well, if we're being real, the definition of settling, I mean, honestly, when I look back, I have settled so many times in my life because of that point that you were saying. Um, you don't feel secure with who you are. And I think for a long time, I dealt with that, especially when I was like a young teenager. Like I was friends with like the pretty girls and the rich girls, and I was neither of those things. And I found a boyfriend when I was like 15, and he was such a loser. Like I don't even care if he ever hears me say this because I mean, it was just, he was barely graduating high school. I was a sophomore, he was a senior, and I ended up dating this guy for like 5 years. Um, because I had like no security with myself, and I just found it in him. And I was like blinded by the fact that like I was in it. Granted, I was young, so I feel like if you're gonna make those mistakes, like make them at that age. But I mean, 5 years of your life from 15 to like 20, those are some pretty like crucial years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I spent a lot of time focusing on that and not myself as an individual. And then I went to another relationship like a year later, and that lasted another 5 years. And that was also me settling because I still didn't give myself enough time to like figure out who I was. So I think that's the biggest part is like knowing what you want. I mean, like maybe the other person is a great person, but just not for you. In both of my situations, I think they were just shitty people. So it was just like easy to like move on. But like a lot of cases, like they are good people, and you're like a lot of things just don't line up. And it doesn't mean one person is better than the other, but I think just like finding out who you are and figuring out, those parts of yourself is the most I mean, that's the most important part. That kind of builds the foundation of any relationship that you have. Now I'm in a relationship, I'm 28 years old, and I know exactly what I want. Well, for the most part.
You know
But
what you need. Yes, we're
yeah,
like our wants are always going to fluctuate, but like your core values, like your deal breakers, and there's no 15-year-old that would ever know what their deal breakers are. We didn't even know how to spell deal breakers or red flags back then. But now you feel a lot more grounded in your decision making, where that young man who always, chimes in, is probably listening in the background, may not be, everything on your list, but he covers a vast majority of the things that you actually need in order for you to feel safe, protected, in order for you to be uh, nurtured and grow in that like environment with him, like grow together. And I think that's very, very important, because oftentimes we select people that do not promote growth within us, people that definitely set us back. And it's just it takes a while, especially for
yeah.
people who are long-term relationship people like you. Can you imagine back to back 5 years, and like still you're just like, oh my god, crappy person, oh my god, crappy person? Like, that's a decade of your life that
Yeah.
you lost. And when I say lost, I don't mean like lost. It's a great thing that you experienced that, but
Mm.
that's tough for anybody to conceptualize time and be like, dude, I just lost a decade trying to figure it
Well, and the worst part is that you you normally, and I feel like other people that have been in long-term relationships can speak to this as well, like you start to fall out of it like years before the actual breakup,
Mm.
but because you're so dependent on that person and so insecure with yourself, let alone like yourself without that person, I mean, like, you just hold on until, I mean, you get to a point where you're just like, okay, I absolutely hate you. So we have to break up. So, like, I feel like, that's the reason why people hold on to relationships for so long too, is because, I mean, they're settling down or they're settling. And I didn't even realize, Nadine, until you brought up this topic, that there is such a difference between settling and settling down, and I think obviously it gets easier to settle down as you get older. And I want to kind of ask you guys this because my dad told me this one time and it scarred me for life. He said that men marry when the time is right, not when the woman is right.
that is correct.
So, so you think that that's true? I think it's true.
I
I think it's
think,
true as well.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but it's so true. Like, you might be, and I've had guys tell me this, even the previous guy who like texted to me a couple of days ago, where it's just like, you were the right person, but it's just like that person is just not in their season. Maybe in the next 4 or 5 years he can be the version of himself that actually wants to settle down, but right now he's in you know his season to explore, to see, like where or who he wants to be, like where he wants to be in his career. So you might be the right girl with the wrong time, and 9 times out of 10 you can't force that growth overnight for them to automatically be like, listen, I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep you. Oftentimes for them, they have to kind of lose you. And that's sad, because then they're going to end up marrying someone that, is based off of convenience. Now that they're ready and they're matured, like now that person gets the very best of them. And, it just is what it is. But you're absolutely,
But
that
do
is
they
absolutely,
really get the best version of them? Because if you have in the back of your mind, like I feel like we all have that one person or might have that one person that we think, well, what if it was the right time? If it wasn't the right time, that just person wasn't the one for you. But I feel like a lot of people, like you said, they don't know the difference between settling versus settling down. And so, yeah, one of us might have been the one for, Bob over here. But then if it just wasn't the right time, it wasn't the right time. But I think we all have that one person we wonder, could it have
I'm
worked
not
or if it
wondering
was
about no one.
you what?
No. I'm not wondering about nobody from my past.
Well, that's because I'm still single
Absolutely
and you're
not.
not. So that might be the difference.
I I see what you're saying,
Yeah.
and I think the majority of people think that, but I hate when people say that because to me, I'm sorry, but if there's still like in your head like someone that you're like, "Oh, like I'll always kind of wonder, why are you gonna put someone else
But
in a
I hate
position
to
to be
say
in a
it is
relationship with you.
the wrong time, but the right woman, like that triggers something inside of me where I'm just like, no, you just weren't the right one then. Like, why do we have to paint this picture like, oh, you could
Well,
have
I
been.
think women can think that way, but men are like will
I think,
constantly probably think about that woman.
yeah, that's true. I do believe that. But I hate that so much. I don't know why it triggers something inside of me to just be angry. But it's just like, no, then you weren't the one. Maybe I fantasized or romanticized something about you in my head, or maybe you had qualities in you that I want for a future partner. But I don't know why that triggers me so much when you said that, Nadine. It just was just like, it
It's
just makes.
the unfortunate truth. It is
Mhm.
truly the end. Like it did upset me too. Like when reading it, but it is the truth. Like forcing that person to become a version of themselves that they're not ready to become is
Mhm.
going to create this artificial like bond or whatever, and that person's not ready. That person needs to go through their 4 seasons in order for them to understand who they are. If they rise to the quote unquote occasion right now just to keep us, they are not going to be the best versions of themselves. They are going to continue to break our hearts because they're going through their season. And then it creates resentment for us because we've already gone through those seasons. We're ready to settle down, but they're not ready to settle down. So, you know, and in those situations, it's unfortunate, but you have to give that person the grace and allow them to go find themselves. Yes, it's frustrating, but
But then why do we still label it like that? Why don't we just say, okay, you weren't the one? Like, just bottom line, like, or maybe that's maybe the Pisces in me. I want to just cold turkey you, like cut you off completely. I don't like the idea of like the what if. No, if you were the one, then you were the one. So then why do we still romanticize it even when it's done and over with? And we should maybe just move on.
go ahead, Pam.
I don't know. I can't really speak to that because I'm like I said, I date until I hate. Like I literally I I will date you until I hate you, and then, I'm
That is
not sitting there
the best.
romanticizing you after we break up. I guess I get where you're coming from, but, like, I I just have never I think guys are definitely more like that, like, I think guys will, like, mope and think more of, like, "Oh, like, was she the one?" And I think women are more like, "No, fuck you, like, you weren't the one,
Once
you
we're
didn't."
over you, we're over you.
Yeah, I really do feel, and I do think men can be like that too, but like I
I,
just for the most part I think men tend to hold on a little bit, and like that's like what when I met my boyfriend, and he's probably listening to this right now, but I mean like I again like I was probably a year and a half out of that like my second 5-year relationship, and I was totally like in a great spot with myself, and I did not want to date him, and he was so about dating me, but he had like 5 other chicks like that he was still dating, and I'm like, why are you trying to jump into a relationship with me when you are going through your seasons of dating? Like you're not trying to settle down with me, you know what I mean? Like don't play me. So I put him through like a 6-month trial phase where
as you should.
you know
Okay.
it's just like you're gonna act like my boyfriend, but you're not gonna be my boyfriend. And you're gonna prove yourself because I'm old. I'm getting older, and so are you. And I am looking to settle down, and I'm not looking to play games. You know what I mean? But I do tend to feel like when guys meet the right girl, like no matter what they're really like going through, if they're going through their dating phase, like they really will kind of like hone in on that and like make that girl like their main target, and like if they're ready to
But
settle down, like if
I
they
think any
really
man can be ready to settle down when they want to, but what does a woman need to do in pursuit of that? I was listening to something earlier and it was talking about like sometimes women tend to think that the more we do, the more a man will want us, when that's not really necessarily true. And he called it, versus calling it like settling down, because settling down I think is a very scary term. Like Nadine said, you feel like you're missing out on something. There's all these options out here. But he said to call it either settling on, so that way it sounds more positive, or he said settling up. So then that way, like, you're settling up means you're setting your life up exactly the way you want it. You're creating a
yeah.
life that you want. You're picking a partner that you can do life with. And so, what do women need to do, though, to make sure that they're not like, if you see a man and you know, like, he's still dating other women, or he's doing something that doesn't necessarily connect with your values, you can see the value in him. But what can women do to like make sure that they make that man level up to or rise to the occasion?
Well, Colleen just said it. She made him wait.
Put your wall
She
up.
made she made it wait. Yeah, put your wall up. Ask it because the
Mm.
guy that really cares about you, and I was told this by a couple of guys, the guys that truly cares about you and has the right intentions, they will go off of your pace. Oh, there's this mindset of we have to allow them to take the driver's seat and rush things through. They are impulsive beings. They see a pretty girl immediately. Their situation down there gets excited and they just want to play. They're kids. They're kids forever where we know what we're looking for. We know um like our long-term goal. So you can't like I'm dating now, honest to God, I'm enjoying every moment of it. I've been dating Colleen and no one has even gone as far as like hold my hand or even kiss me. It's bizarre. The other day I was sitting with myself, I said, would I have taken myself on this many dates? Or if I like would I have dated a girl for this long and not even be able to kiss her? That's an investment. That's a capital
Yeah.
investment that he's making, and he's not, you know, he's not. They're not like nobody's forcing me to do anything my heart doesn't desire. Like I'm going off of my own pace, and they're still staying tuned in. So I
Yep.
think oftentimes for women, we just have to slow it down. They know what they want, but they still have to earn it. They still have to feel like you are that rare gem. And trust me when I say they're always going to, or prior to feeling like they met their person, they're always going to keep other doors open because once more, they're not creatures that close doors. They're creatures that like to have this girl validating them, this girl validating them, this girl
How do
validating
we make our men more secure in this world? Like a world where there's like literally so much access right at their fingertips. How do we encourage men to be more secure into just making one woman enough?
you
I
can.
look at that as
Yeah, we can't. That
not my job. Not
No?
my job.
That's
That's
so
on
funny that we
you.
both said that. No, it's not. You can't because that then goes
No?
into you building a bear. They have to come to you. There's a difference. I've heard the difference when a guy is actually prepared
Yes.
as opposed to when a guy thinks. When a guy knows what he wants, when I tell you he is not playing the radio with you, he is not.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like I want this or whatever, and he's saying the right things, and his actions mirror what he's saying. When a
Yes.
guy is unsure of like his like what's going on in his life, his words never match his actions. He may mean well, but his actions never equate to what his words are saying. And that's like he's it's not and I had to retrain myself. It's not that the person's a bad person. It's
No.
just they're a good person. They just have, fairy tale hopes and dreams that they're not ready and willing to like back it up with their words. It doesn't make them a bad person. It just means that they have caviar taste and tuna fish budget.
I like that. No, I agree. I don't think it's our job at all to make them hone in on
Mm,
one woman. Like, I'm sorry, that's on you. And if you want to explore other options, that's fine. But I'm not going to be one of those options, you know? And that's pretty much what I told my now boyfriend when I met him. I'm like, look, like, you're cool. I really like you. You're cute. But like, I've been warned about you. And I get like you're single and you're dating, but like if you like me as much as you say you do and like you want to like make me your girlfriend, all these other, you know, I don't want to call them hoes because they're nice women. All these other ladies in your life need to go. And the right guy will do just that.
Mhm.
And as far as I know, that's what happened. And yeah, I just think guys do need some time. Like as much as he likes to give me a hard time about that 6-month trial period, like I think he needed it just as much as I did. To kind of just get rid of all of your single energy and start getting into that relationship energy, because you're two completely different people when you're single and you're in a relationship. I hate to say it, but like it's true. And I do think though, like Devin, maybe to your point, like I think once you're in the relationship with them, it is kind of your duty, I think, to make them want to continue to be in that relationship, because I know that I've done
Yeah.
things to like totally be like, why would anyone want to date me if I say and I do these things? You know what I mean? So I
That's
think
good
like as a
awareness to have, Colleen. I'm very glad you said that.
I am working on that. See, thank you for noticing. But like I think once you're in the relationship, it is part of your duty to, what can I do to like make them, want to be good to me. You know what I mean? Because like I've said and I've done things that I'm like, wow, and you still bought me a Christmas present. You know what I mean? Like but I mean, we all make mistakes, but yeah, that's my take on it. Is not my job until you are my boyfriend, then I'll start doing the wifey shit. Like I'll cook you dinner, I'll make your house nice to come home to, like I'll make you want me, but it's not my job to initiate that.
No. And like I said, when they know. They are very sure of
They
themselves.
did.
We don't give them enough credit for how much like certainty they have. When men make decisions, their decisions are not even based off of emotion, i.e. why they run the world. Their decision is pretty much based off of like what's in front of them. If they feel at this particular point in time like you're not the right one for whatever reason that they formulate in their head, just like Devin said, forget all the million things that you do to make them that one thing. If they feel like that's their deal breaker, they're just like, thank you, respectfully. I'm gonna move forward because as far as they're concerned in their mind, the way we hold on and we romanticize their absence, once they moved on, they already in their head are like, oh, okay, well, she died. Like not in a bad way, but she died, and now I'm on to the next. And
They don't
oftentimes,
think about the consequences of that.
no, because as far as they're concerned, they made their decision with conviction. So I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of women, we lack conviction because when they make their decision, they know that there is a high probability of us not answering their call in the next 30 days when they gain clarity. They know that. They still make that decision. So these are not dumb beings. They know what they're doing. We have to hold them accountable the same way we hold ourselves accountable. Because if he comes back in 30 days all of a sudden with all of this clarity, we don't have to open up the door if we felt that his exit was intent. You know what I mean? It's a way of retraining them. But oftentimes, because we're just like, okay, well, what if this is a better version of him, and I'm just going to like, and that's where we create this vicious cycle of I'm going to reopen the door, and therein lies where settling comes from. Like, even though this guy's not doing anything that I want him to do, because he came back, I guess in my mind that says to me that he loves me and he values me or whatever, even though he's not doing anything, he doesn't mirror any of my core values or any of the things that make me functional or contribute to my overall growth. Because he checked back in, I'm now going to settle and accept the bare minimum
Romanticize that. Yeah.
that used to give me the most.
Yeah. No, well, you said a lot there, first of all.
I
So, I think women are kind of like that too, though, in a way. At least I am. Like, if I make a choice in my head, not like I've ever. I think guys, I feel like are more in a position often where they have to like decide between women, and I feel like women don't get put in that position a lot. Like, I can't think of the last time, Devin, maybe you are different, but I literally can't think of the last time where I'm like, I need to make a decision here. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe that's my issue. Like, granted, I've also been in two like 5-year long relationships, and now my relationship now is 3 years, so it's not like I've dated a whole lot. But Devin, I mean, tell us about your mindset then. Like, are you? I mean, so you've been in that position. Tell us more.
My thing is, I mean, my heart, there's always an MVP on the team, right? Like there's always somebody that you're,
Your
you're
main your
that you're,
main hoe.
huh?
Your main hoe.
Yeah. I don't want to call them hoes. They're respectable men. But from my
You're so
past,
polite in here.
I mean, some of them are. I definitely have had men on the rosters that are definitely hoes. Like, just let's call it what it is. Like, they call women hoes, so they're definitely hoes, and I can see it. I know that is, and not to fall for that person. Um,
but
but it is hard.
quick question, doesn't that and please challenge me, love you, I know your birthday's in 2 days, but I have to ask this question. Doesn't that make you a hoe for entertaining a hoe?
Ooh.
So I think it depends on what you take from that person. Like, what is it that that person is satisfying in me that I need in my life right now? And that's what, when I'm in a situation where I'm not being claimed, or if I haven't found this one particular person that I want to spend all my time with, I'm sorry, but I'd rather have 5 boyfriends than one. Like, if my heart is drawn to this one person, but that person isn't showing up as the person that I vocalize, that, I think that's a problem with a lot of women, the settling versus settling down. I don't think they're being honest in their truth about what they really want. That is the main thing. If everyone just spoke with honestly, even if a man told me, hey, I'm talking to other women right now, is that cool to you? I would have more respect for that man than the man who then tells me I have to find out on my own, or you make me look stupid. The lies. The lying is the problem. No one wants to say the hard thing anymore. And I hope that this podcast it's hard being human, and we learn how to say hard things to people, because if you're
I have mastered, by the way, saying hard things. We just want to bring that back. I'm the queen of breaking up respectfully and still having a very good situation with that person. I just wanted to highlight my breaking up skills. Anyone can
well,
reach
we'll have to have a whole episode on that, because in my
but go ahead.
eyes, I don't want a bond with you afterwards. Like, once we realize we've come to terms with, like, this isn't going to work, I have enough people in my life that want to, like, linger around, and if I would let them get a chance, like, that makes me feel so uneasy, and I desire a man in my life that would make me feel safe. Like, that is, like, the number one thing. And so if you start lying, or I have to start worrying about this or that doesn't make me feel safe. So now my needs aren't being met from this one person. So I'm going to now have the guy that I go to the movies with. I'm going to have the guy who does make me feel safe, or the one who does take me on adventures, or the one I can be a hoe with. Like, just to be honest, like, you know what it is? Like, it is what it is.
I love that. That was a genuine answer. I love that.
That is the most genuine answer I can give, because at the end of the day, if you're not putting in the effort the way I'm putting in the effort, then what are we doing here? Why am I putting in more work? Especially the older you get, I think you just see that more and more, the more relationships you've been in, whether it was 5-year-long relationships, or I've learned so much about myself from dating people. And I think it just depends on your journey and what lessons you need to learn in life. Like, Colleen, you may have needed those 2 5-year-long relationships to get to where you are now. You say no, but for some reason, if you reflect back, there's something that changed you forever. Maybe it was just not picking people like that anymore. Who knows? Maybe we'll have to have an episode. We'll have to have an episode about
Colleen. If I showed you guys a picture of my first boyfriend, you'd be like,
don't even get me started on that. Sometimes when you go back and you're just like, my G. Like, this was my, like, whoa.
I'm not pulling out a yearbook of my ex-boyfriends. Oh, no.
No, you better not, because I remember them. It was, and I'm just, oh, Jesus. But that's neither here. That's another episode about it.
But going back, yeah, I think women, if I can only speak from my own experience, but I think women genuinely want to love on one man. But if that one man is making you obsessive, if he's lying to you, if he's not showing up for you and what you've asked him to do, then I think it's your right as a woman, because men will quickly, again, with the conviction, or go out and do what they want to do. I think women need to do the same thing. And so if you're not getting what your heart needs to feel safe and secure with this one person, I think you need to check out your other options and be honest with people about where you stand. And that's the problem. Once you see that maybe someone else is in love with you, like you're in love with that other person, you have to be honest with that person and just tell them, because now you're the bad guy in that person's story. Yeah. And either side of it doesn't feel good, whether you are the one that is in love with someone and they're not ready for you, or you're someone who's not ready for the person that wants you like that. You know, you're always going to be a villain. But when it comes to settling versus settling down, I've always asked myself that question, because it is very hard to, I'm a Pisces, my birthday's in 2 days. I am a daydreamer. I'm a hopeless romantic. Once I have that vision of what I can see a life with somebody like, I will either want to dive right in, or I'll want to push you away, because if I can't see in my daydreams this life with you, then I can't settle for you. Like, I've just gotten to a point where if you dated enough, you know, I feel like you should know a little bit. Dating is more so, and I hate that people date to find the one. You're dating to find out what you don't want. And then eventually someone's just going to pop up, and you can't go back. It happens that quickly. So you're dating to find what you don't like. You're not dating to find what you like, or like, you're the one. You are the one. The man is not the one ever, because eventually, and just to sum up real quick, but I remember I was going through a really hard time, a really hard breakup, and I was my best friend. Shout out to Tony Jane, we love her, but she's 70, and she lost her husband at like, I think she was like 55. But here I am sharing this story with her. I was in the midst of finding out that I was being cheated on, and I had to move out of a home that I lived with somebody, and then here I am sharing this story with a 70-year-old woman. Her husband's gone. He had a heart attack and died. Like, you have to, like, whoever you spend your time with, and I wish maybe men saw that better and could see the future like women can. I feel like women can see the future. We can see what's going to happen. Men have to feel that hurt. They have to feel that pain in order for them to act right or see what they truly want and get that aha moment. Women already can kind of see, like, oh, I like this, where this is going. Oh, I see the value in that man. I want this to go in this direction. But I think, just how do we communicate and get men to trust women again? Because I don't think men trust women right now. And that's why we're having the problems we're having, because we're intuitive. So, but if we don't have a partner who trusts that in us, we're talking to a wall then.
Well, that goes back to what Colleen said. They have to work on themselves before they even enter it. It's not our responsibility. We can't make them feel safe. They need to come in with a high level of, like, I'm grounded. We cannot make them feel safe, because the same because
but then why do we expect a man to make us feel safe? Like, I mentioned that a couple times, and that's always so just kind of challenging what you're saying. If we can't expect to make them feel safe, then maybe I need to stop saying that I'm looking for a man to make me feel safe. Like,
no,
how do
no, as a woman, as a woman, we desire security. We're the weaker being. That is so, like, something we've always needed. A man is always, if there's gunfire, a man is supposed to push his family behind him, and he's supposed to stand forward. That's not an unrealistic expectation as a woman. If you jump into in front of that man, you have serious problems. You might be able to dodge the bullet, but you might have to divorce him tomorrow because he's a bitch. You have to, like,
oh no.
When you select your mate, that person is, if they understand the true role of what a man is, they have to protect. It's like a police officer running away from you don't get to run away from the crime scene. I get to run away from the crime scene. You have to run towards the person that's shooting, because that's what you vowed to do. You vowed to protect and to serve. So it's okay for you to seek that safety in, like whatever guy, and it's okay for that guy to also want you to feel safe enough for you to be the best version of yourself, the softest version of yourself, where you can nurture him, where you can you nurture them, you support them, you give them what they need in order for them to go out into battle. Because back in the day, all this feelings nonsense that these men are feeling, there's definitely a reverse, and it's a lot. But all this feeling stuff, they didn't get to feel that back then. They didn't get to have all of these episodes.
They went to war.
They went to war. I tell people all the time. I was talking to somebody the other day. I was like, as a country, I fear so much, because all of our men are fearing the world. They identify as a cactus one day. They're emotionally unstable. They're all these things, and I'm just like, we are the perfect target right now for every other country to come in, because we're so distracted, because everybody has lost sight of who they are, and they're trying to be what they think that they should be. So it's everybody is confused. And I'm like, in theory, go back to go back to what it was supposed to be. You have your role, I have my role. If we both manage to understand what those roles are, we can be great together. Don't step into my role, I won't step into your role, and we can coexist. We can be great together. But you over-feeling and me being the man of the house, that's a problem.
Yeah. I think what made me realize, I had to go through a lot of dating experiences, but to then finally realize to be more careful in who I was dating, because before I would just go on a date. If someone was willing to offer me a good experience, let's go. I'm so excited, which, I mean, it's still a good time, but then you have to add on that question of, like, am I going to have to heal from this person? And so if you're making a list of, okay, am I settling or am I settling down? you have to be very mindful that what you're allowing, is this person worth, like, even though Nadine and I talk about this all the time, Colleen, I don't know if we've ever shared this with you, but we've talked a lot about in our past, and maybe you need to look at your past relationships like this. She said sometimes we are the one that is the blessing to them. And constantly,
Yeah.
though, you're trying to be that blessing to somebody else, but are we worthy enough to realize, wow, like that situation all had to happen, I had to get hurt, I had to feel that pain, but I was the blessing to that other person.
You were their blessing, and they were your lesson.
Lesson.
Yes. So, and that teaches you. That teaches you.
Yeah, 100%. And going back to what Nadine was saying, like I completely agree. I think that, I mean, geez, if we're gonna have just white men running this country forever, like, yeah, we can play into some gender roles a little bit. Like, guys, I think initially should, like, I mean, they should make you feel secure. I don't think it's our job to make you feel secure and like, oh my God, you're making a great choice if you pick me. Like, no, that is not my job. Like, it's your job to see that, you know? And I think initially, and that also goes back to what I was saying about when we're in the relationship finally, I think that's when women can bring their walls down a little bit more and be like, and show like, hey, like I am going to provide you security and stability. Like I'm going to have food for you or whatever it is that you're going to do for him. Like I love to cook. So like my way of showing, you know, my whoever I'm with is, you know, I'm going to have dinner made for you. I'm going to cook you breakfast. I'm going to cook you lunch, you know, and like pack your lunch if you're going to work that day. And so that's like I do things like that to like show my man like I got you, you know, but like I think initially like my boyfriend didn't even know I could cook for a year.
That was me in the beginning. I didn't put that on my profile, and he was baffled with my ex. He was baffled. He was like, "Oh my God, so you can cook?" And I was just like, "So I'm supposed to put everything out there so all of you thirst traps can come and try to get Nadine to cook, clean, be everything, and then you guys are nothing?" No, I'm
Exactly.
sorry.
Not showing all my cards up front. You know
No,
what I mean? Like you get to see my great personality and then eventually you get to see how
See,
amazing of
again, relating back, I'm a Pisces, so I go either all in or you're dead to me. Like, it's like one way or the other. But I feel like the person who shows up and sees those qualities in me, that's the person that I want. I don't know if that's fair.
it is.
I think that's 100% fair. I
It
think
is
it's
not. It is not. It is not. It is
I'll
not.
stick with Colleen's answer. Colleen, go ahead.
No. It is not because Devin. Let me tell you something.
Hey! Watch it. It's my birthday in 2 days.
That means nothing to me. To you, Devin. It takes a special person to love Devin. These extremes that Pisces have. I don't know why. First and foremost, I don't know why Pisces are attracted to me. I don't like it. I've been trying to push them
I
away.
prepared you your whole life for this, okay?
You have. Devin has prepared you for Pisces because they're on one side of the spectrum or the other, and that's not healthy either. I've had Pisces come into my life and they're just enthralled and they're just like, oh my God, and then it's like 2 seconds later it's just like, well, I don't know, and I don't think going from one extreme to the other does not keep you grounded. I feel like oftentimes if you give yourself the time to be like, listen, and once more, maybe that is a sign thing, maybe that's a personal thing, that because you don't feel secure in who you are, to go back to what I said, the moment a person questions that or
it's not always about the secure part. It's hard in a world that we live in when you're an adaptable person. There is a lot of people out here who think they have their whole life controlled and on a routine, and Pisces will adapt to the environment until we get overwhelmed, and then that's when we kind of swim off into our little bubble of like, okay, I need to protect myself, like this, I can't swim with these fish anymore. So I don't think it's always about knowing who you are, because I constantly change. So if you constantly change, how can you really ever securely say you know yourself?
Having that presence of mind to know that you're constantly changing, also giving that person the grace for them when you decide to go off of the deep end or into your bubble and swim, not that person for telling you that, hey, I can't deal with all of your ups and downs today. You're a lot. I'm just going to like go do me. And I feel like oftentimes with Pisces, with a lot of people, when they go off of one spectrum to the other, it's just like, well, I want that person to love me when I'm crazy, and I want that person to love me when I'm grounded. I want that person. That's unrealistic and that's unfair. You have to, there's a level of maturity where you have to grasp, like, okay, listen, what I want somebody to call me at 7 a.m. and tell me, oh my God, baby, have the best day. And then by 7:30 be like, you're the worst human being in the world. I don't know what. And then that person's like confused out of their mind, because how do you go from one dynamic to the other when in theory the only reason why you are having a bad day is because somebody got your coffee order wrong, and now you're redirecting that to them, and they don't know that you go from one dynamic to the other, and now that person's like, well, if you really love me, like, you should stick it through. That is unrealistic. That is unfair. That is operating at a level of high immaturity, and us expecting people to always be okay with all of our sporadic ups and downs. That's what you have friends for. You call your friends with your ups and downs, but to make that person live every aspect of that with you is overwhelming for a guy, because men are naturally designed to be fixers. So if you call him and you're on 10, he in his mind thinks that I have to fix it. I have to make sure that she feels safe again. You don't even know what's wrong with you. Now you're stressing him out. Yes, Devin. Now you're stressing him out because somebody
Sorry to all my former lovers.
apologizing.
No, not at all. I am wonderful to have around, and I will not apologize. They enjoyed every minute of it, and they probably still miss me. So just being honest, and that's how I'm going to say it.
That's the day kicking in. She makes a formal apology. I'll apologize on her behalf, because she is a lot to deal with. And being in her life for
coming from Nadine.
Oh no, I'm a lot.
Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, Colleen.
No, I'm a lot. I've accepted.
What is it? The kettle calling the kettle, the kettle calling the kettle black, or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm a lot. I know. Listen, I am all caps a lot. Every capital letter a lot. I know I'm a lot, but I don't redirect that towards somebody else where it's just like, well, they don't love me enough. I turn it back to, maybe I'm reacting this way based off of my insecurities. Like, let me dig a little bit deeper. If it takes him 15 minutes to respond back to my text, why do I already think the worst? Think that, oh my God, he's cheating on me. He's talking to 15 other girls and blah, blah, blah. When in theory, maybe that's my own insecurity that I need to figure out.
I think that's what the world does to us too. There's so many ways people communicate, and now that nobody is secure, we're all like on this battle, I think, of like questioning and wondering who other people are talking to. I think it's really hard to not feel that way if someone doesn't text you back, or in the world that we live in where so much is going on, you're just concerned if that person's okay. Like,
I don't think we're concerned if that person's okay. I think it's
really
no. I think it's instant gratification as opposed to delayed gratification. We always want that instant response back as opposed to a meaningful response. We sit there and we're just like, I want him to respond back instantly. And then we challenge what he says. I experienced that earlier. When I asked the individual for this topic, I was like, okay, well, like, I'm running into a wall right now. Give me an idea of what you think we should like talk about or whatever. Being that you're a loyal subscriber. His first response back was, hey, I'm at the gym. I'll let you know. Pretty much. My initial reaction, okay, as being me, is like, fuck off, whatever. like why can't, but, you know, after he texted that to me, I was like, okay, fine. I was like, okay, fine. Enjoy your workout or whatever. You'll circle back. Then he comes back around and he's like, well, you know what? Honestly, I don't even know what to like suggest. Once more, my need for instant gratification automatically pushed me to, well, why the fuck did you waste my time? Why did you make me wait till you left the gym in order for you to tell me that you didn't even know? But I was like, okay, no worries or whatever. And then I had to pause and come back and be like, you know what? Text him back and be like, you know what? I appreciate the fact that you actually did brainstorm. By the time he got home, he came up with this topic. Once more, my want to get that quick answer could have like taken away from our entire topic from tonight, because I want that instant gratification. Like, I want him to know exactly. So I think that goes along the line of us lacking in other aspects of our lives, or always wanting that person to be like ready or channeling exactly what we're feeling at that moment. If we're on 10, we want him to be on 10. That's unrealistic.
That's fair.
I have to say, I more agree with Devin, and I think it's because I think
Did
honestly because my intuition has always been so correct. Like usually if I have a feeling about someone, like usually if I'm freaking out over him not texting me back soon enough, it's because more than likely he's probably doing something that he probably shouldn't be doing. And I'm telling you that every single time I think I've had a bad feeling about something
you?
or like I've shown a moment of insecurity, I have been validated later on as to why I was having those feelings.
No,
So I think that has traumatized me because I just think I'm always right, especially when it comes to like my feelings and my intuition about especially men. But when I tell you that when I do like with Devin, I think that it is like a man's job, especially if maybe he's done things to like test your trust or whatever in the beginning of a relationship. I do think it is their job to like kind of morph into your different personalities and your different needs because it's like take me for all that I am or nothing at all because I mean this is who I am. And I think just to kind of give my last thoughts so we can like wrap it up a little bit, I think settling versus settling down more is a look into yourself rather than the person that you're settling down or settling with. I think that it's I going into this topic, I thought it was going to be more about like the other person, but I think now that we've talked through it, I think it's more about yourself
Mm-hmm.
and are you settling down with yourself or like are you settling with this version of yourself that you're not happy with? And I think that's where it all comes from. So,
very
you
good.
know, I mean that's yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I don't know if you guys want to give your last thoughts or if we want to end it on that note, but I think it just has more to do with yourself than the other person and that right person will morph into your needs and will, check most of the boxes. I don't think all of the boxes will ever
I
And
truly be.
wholeheartedly agree. And with
yes.
that, I will definitely say, or do you want me to talk about the settling down to transition into that?
Um,
Because I think Colleen
we
like
talked about what settling down means to us,
Mhm.
or like what settling means to us, and putting yourself out there and how to do it and how to recognize. But I'm almost a little curious about what does settling down mean to you guys then? Does that mean you, like you said, Nadine, you find someone with the same values, someone you can do life with that challenges you and motivates you? What about what happens if we're talking to our viewers that are already married and already in situations? How can they, what does that mean to them?
I think if you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking to yourself, am I settling down? Like, or am I settling? Like, or, whatever. Like, I think if you're listening to this and having questions about, like, if you're settling with the person that you've settled down with, then I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I just think, especially after all the years of experience of relationships I've been through, when you just know.
Yeah.
And
You
sometimes,
know when it's
especially
over. Like you said, it
right.
took years. You knew for years that you wanted to leave those relationships.
And I didn't have a marriage or kids with these people. I can't even imagine someone that's married and has kids and they're like, shit, like I settled down with a loser. Like it's like, what do you do now?
but were they
Get a divorce.
to challenge that question? And I feel like this is the issue with our generation. So all of a sudden, this person becomes a loser. Do we ever question what transpired for them to become a loser? Because remember, when we
No,
say we
they were always a loser.
no, no, no. Well, some people.
We're talking
Well,
about
that,
like a decent guy
well,
who,
Oh,
that
is
is
going through a
okay.
season. Is that what you're saying,
that's
Nadine?
when they're always losers, Colleen. When we selected wrong, but let's say we select the
Reset.
right guy, and then he and
Okay.
he maybe 2 years down the line becomes somebody we don't recognize, right? Somebody who's going through something. The core values are still instilled, but he's going through a life challenge.
Mm.
Our generation is decide is always based on let me dispose of him because you know what, I want to live my best life. This is not what I thought I signed up for, whatever. And like, I'm like, you know what, I'm so sad that you're going through this, sir. But like I envision my life on yachts and stuff, so I have to go find that person to mirror that. I feel like that's why oftentimes the view of settling down is so skewed because we think that settling down means that person has to be the best version of themselves in every season, when that's unrealistic, because I could be a 10 today personality wise and a 2 tomorrow personality wise, depending on what other things are coming at me. If I'm asking this guy to deal with me when I've had a crappy day and I'm just nasty and spewing out things,
Mm-hmm.
why can't I stand by his side when he's going through a season of questioning and not want to run out the door? Because once more, if we want to do life, a 4-letter word, a big word, if we want to do life with somebody, life doesn't consist of one season. There's 4 seasons in a year. Life has multiple seasons. You know, we have to give that person that grace to understand what's going on with them. You're independently codependent, if that makes sense. You're together, but you're still 2 separate entities. He's going to go through his stuff. He's going to have seasons where he feels ridiculously insecure, where he doesn't know where he stands, like in his job, or his parents pass away, or his parents get sick or whatever. And then you see a version of him that you're just like, who are you? You're so negative. You're so nasty or whatever. But I think oftentimes we dispose of that person because we're like, I don't like this version of you. It's lasting too long. It's been week number 4. Like you're really just really negative, as opposed to being like, listen, this is a season. I understand that this is a season that you're going through. If I chose you to do life with, I have to revert back to my core values. You did check off everything on my core values. This is just something that you're going through. I'm going to hold your hand and go through it with you, as opposed to judge you through it and or abandon you through it and then be like, well, you know what? I want to live my best life. Living your best life, having a healthy relationship, is going through the ups and downs of everyday life. You're not always going to be the best version of yourself. So how do you expect that person to be the best versions of themselves and to feel safe with you? Going back to what Devin said, we have to create that security, because as attractive women, we can have our pick of the litter. We can have whatever. But should we indulge? That's the question. Should we always indulge?
So does that go back to what Colleen said about listening to your intuition? Do you think not enough women are listening to their intuition?
Absolutely. Going in, we're blinded by things that don't matter. If a guy spends a lot of money on us, or if he shows us something that we didn't see in the previous guy, we're like, oh my God, yes, please put a ring on it. We're not taking the time like she did 6 months in. Kudos to you. By doing your due diligence to be like, okay, yeah, I like you, you're cute and everything, but do you have all of the traits that I need for me to like do life with you? As opposed to, I like what you offer right now. It makes me feel special. It makes me feel pretty. But then a year from now, when you lose your job, I'm really going to resent the fuck out of you because I don't like, this is not what I signed up for. When in theory, you signed up for life with a person. So we are not going in correctly. We are not having the correct conversations, and we're falling too easily. 6 months is perfect. I don't understand why there's any rush. Oftentimes we're like, oh, well, you know what? I gotta like it's this ticking time bomb. When why? That's why we're making all of these bad mistakes. That's why we have a high divorce rate, because we're not taking our time. So I agree with Colleen. 6 months, I agree with that. Hell, take a year, because the right guy, he won't be counting. He's just going to, like, he'll stay in the ring because he knows that you're worth it. The wrong guy, you'll be able to weed out very quickly, because he's gonna already show you what he came in for.
Yeah, and now he bought a house for us, and
I can't wait to visit that house, by the way. Go ahead.
I know, I'm very excited. But yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you said, Nadine. I think that, well, I mean, just again to wrap it up again, what you were saying about, what do you do if you're with a person and then like all of a sudden like they're a completely different version of themselves? That was actually my last relationship, my other 5-year relationship. When COVID hit, he like completely turned like isolated.
Don't get Devin started on that. Go ahead.
He was a completely different human being, like wasn't going to work, like even though he could have, because he was just scared and like wouldn't leave the house. I mean, like he was a shell of a human being. But I agree with you, like, I mean, you should, be with that person through the ups and downs, but I really don't think you sign on to that until you're actually married to a human being, because at that point, at some point, you have to look at your life and maybe be selfish and say, you know what, I'm too young for this, or I'm too old for this. And like, it's not my job to fix you and pick you back up and make you whole again. And clearly, you know, there were other deeper issues if it's gotten to a point where it's like where I need to walk away. You know, this isn't
Agreed.
just a phase. This isn't just a season. And I do agree with what you're saying to an extent, but I do think at some point you have to look at yourself so you don't find yourself settling down and looking at the person being like, wow, I really just settled for you because I wanted to settle down. At some point you have to be selfish and you have to say like, look, this just isn't working for me anymore. Like, I might be a blessing to you in your life and I might be the the best thing that you have going on, but like, you do nothing for me anymore and I need to walk away from this. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay to do that when you realize a person no longer fulfills you.
Okay.
Done. Period.
Your thoughts?
Period. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Should we?
Yes, Colleen ended on that note with the
On that note,
capital period.
I
Yes.
love that encouragement.
Yeah, close the door. Yeah. Literally and figuratively. Go ahead.
Well, close the door, but
Nadine.
also, like Nadine said, let people go through their season. But when you know, and trust your intuition.
Yes, the intuition, she's spot on with you. Yeah, when you know, you know. So hands down, yes, I agree with that.
Well, thanks for watching, listening, whatever you guys are doing. We'll come up with a spicy little subject for next week. And yeah, tune in with us again. We love you all.
We do. Oh, Devin has the hearts thing. Foolishness.